And we're live. Good afternoon. Welcome to Wednesday on the Midday Show. You'd be surprised how many people say, "Oh, the Midday Show. It used to be that. Now it's the Midday Show. What time can I tune into it?" Well, I just smile sweetly, and let the penny drop, which it generally does fairly quickly. So yes, just gone midday. Welcome to the Midday Show. I've got a fantastic guest for you today. I have got an amazing guest for you today. We'll just do a couple of hellos. So do put your comments in just so I know who we've got watching. I can see the numbers going up already, which is lovely. If you just joined us, a very good afternoon to you. Really good to have you tuned in. And we're talking all sorts today: art, mental health, the connection between the two. I don't know if you remember a while ago on the show, it was co-presented with me one day by a new friend and work colleague of mine, a lovely lady called Emily Kate Owen, or EK for short. She presents 4 days with me a week on Radio Jackie, Tuesday to Friday. And she was telling me about this incredible lady who I'm going to bring on stage now. So will you please go wild and crazy and welcome Caroline de Pericov. Hello.
Hi.
First of all, did I pronounce your name correctly?
You did. Congratulations. Yes.
Is it French?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I thought I was going to be really clever and try and find the root of the name. So I put it into Google. I put Pericov into Google Translate from French to English, and it came back with Pericov. I was really disappointed. I thought I was being so clever.
Oh, well, it's an actual place. So you may have been given a sort of map of France. Yes.
Is that right? Is it? Whereabouts? So it's Caroline of Pericov, literally.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's in the south of France, not far from Toulouse.
Very nice indeed. Very nice indeed. Welcome to the show. Emily Kate has been raving about you for goodness knows how long, and I know that you're painting her at the moment and her children as well. And I've seen I've seen the picture thus far. It's amazing. It's absolutely, and it's enviable to me because I do not have that kind of artistic bone in my body at all, not a bit. I could draw a 3-dimensional box and stick men, and that's literally about it. How do you capture the essence like that? Because there's painting something or drawing something, and then there's capturing an essence of something.
And that's
unreal.
That because that's so important to me in my work, and I feel that that's what a lot of people notice. They tend to say there's such a connection in the eyes, and you really feel like you get to know that person through your painting. And I don't know how it happens. When I work with people, they come and sit in my studio, so I spend time with that person. When I'm working with children, it is from photographs, but I do love to have the sitter or sitters looking at me, or try and capture that relationship that they're having with each other within that space. And so I'm pleased it's coming across, because
it's more than coming across. It's more than coming across. It leaps out. It absolutely leaps out. And there is a difference. It's the same with people who take really good photos. I can hold my iPhone up and take a photo, but I've got a friend that can take a photo and literally capture a moment brilliantly. And there is a difference. There is a difference.
Well, I think it must be sort of seeing that moment to start with, right? And then there's capturing it as a whole nother thing.
I don't know. I've never really broken it down before. I mean, it's a bit much, actually. You've only been on like 3 minutes, and I'm asking you to break down your whole creative process, which is a bit of a big ask. But clearly it works. Have you always had a natural bent? Did you must have studied art? How did you become what you are today?
Yeah. In fact, I visited one of my old schools last night, so it took me right back to my art GCSE, and just how I was really experimenting. I had some wonderful teachers who helped me push those boundaries even then. And then I went on to study the arts at A-level, history of art, photography, textiles. And then I went to do an art foundation course at Oxford Brookes, and settled on fine art at that stage, and then was just seeking out someone to teach me. I was just desperate to learn how to paint. I was painting myself because I didn't know who else to paint, and just loved working from life even then. And then I ended up studying in Florence in Italy for 3 years, and at an atelier, so under kind of this technique that's been passed down through old masters, and they then teach their students. So it goes right back. You're talking Leonardo da Vinci.
Is that as idyllic as it sounds? That sounds almost romantic and magical.
Completely. I had to come home to the UK every couple of months just to get a reality check and, ground myself into where I was heading eventually.
But if you're getting teachings also that have been passed down from old masters, that's incredible. And if you can, I suppose, embody that.
Totally. Yeah. Well, it's a technique. It's yes, it can be a bit more complex in learning how to make paints or whatever in those traditional ways, but really the technique is quite simple. It's just having someone in the studio and working with your canvas side by side and standing back, so you got the right perspective. That's really what it is. A lot of people kind of make art more complicated than it needs to be. So yeah, it's kind of spot the difference is the way I'm working.
You make it sound so terribly simple. I was going to pop this on the screen. There we go. I should have done that earlier. Caroline de Pericard, welcome to the show. Tell us about the work that you've been doing with the military, because this is fantastic. Again, the essence, and I've read the website, which is this, by the way, Caroline de Pericard. .co.uk if you'd like to log on. There's a fantastic body of work on there. It's really worth logging on. How did you get into the working with the military, and why?
Well, actually, you know what? That journey started when I was commissioned by the Coldstream Guards, which is an army regiment, to paint a chap, Lieutenant Dougie Dalzell, posthumously, sadly. He was killed on his 27th birthday. Still gives me shivers now. 2 weeks before he was due to come home from an operation in Afghanistan. And so I was asked to paint his portrait to recognise him. Really, he was a Military Cross winner, and so I guess it was that really that made him worthy to hang on the walls of the Coldstream Guards Officers' Mess. And it was while I was painting him, and I'd never met him, but I felt like I had, because I got to know his family so well, and his and a lot of his friends who I'm still friends with today, and I felt so honoured to be part of that, an insight into that whole world, really. And so I found a way to do more of that work and to help others, because it was quite therapeutic painting him, and it helped with the closure for his family and friends by seeing this lifelike, life-size painting of their son, of their brother, their friend.
Indeed.
And it kind of made him sort of the presence of him and there. And I just wanted to find a way to do more of that and kind of give back. And so I created this project called War Paint. It was a 6-7 year project, and I just wanted to paint everyone and anyone who had been on operations but had come back with whatever kind of injury it was. It might have been an invisible injury. It might have been a really obvious one. For example, I painted the first triple amputee to come out of Afghanistan, Mark Ormod. I'd paint people with bullets in their lungs. You couldn't even tell they were there. But but I wanted to focus on the positive side of their lives today. So
now, this is the really interesting bit, isn't it? Because there's an element of, this is one of the reasons why I wanted you on, because there's an element of mental health and healing here. I would use the word catharsis, but I think it goes deeper than that. It's more than an emotional letting go. It is deeper. There is a healing element to it.
Totally. And I think there was that
without a doubt.
The sisters themselves sitting for me in the studio, being out of their military environment if they were still serving, or and just coming to someone who by the time I was painting them, actually I'm now married to someone who works in the army, is a doctor. So I've got an understanding of the military world, but I'm outside of it, and I think that really helped. I really enjoy talking to people and asking questions, finding out about them, but also relating in as many ways as I could. And so I created this space where they could open up, and they found those sittings in themselves therapeutic. And then the outcome was celebrating where they were today in their lives, not what had happened to them, but it was kind of where they are because of that. And it could have been something as small as sitting on Brighton Beach having a cup of tea, in the sunshine, to setting up their own business, great and
simple things that we who are not involved in that world, would take for granted, if you know what I mean. But to someone that's been on active service and has seen those horrors, and possibly brought them home. We got Headley Court relatively near to where I live, which is another military recovery centre where they do all the kinds of therapies to treat PTSD. And I've seen some of the people, only because I used to DJ at a pub down the road. It's a shallow connection as that, but I did, and they would come down there. And let's just say the injuries were very visible, if you know what I mean.
Well, they dealt with a lot of head injuries there at Headley Court. And
is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, actually, I'll tell you in a minute, the end, the journey sort of finishes off in a place like Headley Court. So the idea with these paintings, a collection of 12 full-length life-size paintings. So they really were, again, creating that presence of someone really being there. They raised a lot of money for charities in the process by hanging corporate offices and making the public aware of what was going on. But then they are now hanging at Stamford Hall, which is the replacement, if you like, for Headley Court. It's where they have now moved to, which is in the Midlands. And they're hanging there to motivate others who are going through that journey. And to
show it, and I suppose it also shows to the people just a little bit behind on the path that it is a journey that, number one, is possible, and number two, is desirable.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I can understand,
great or small, just it doesn't matter kind of what age, what gender, how many medals you have, where you are in your life. Just moving forward in any way is progress. And
it's really absolutely. And sometimes it's the baby. Sometimes it's literally the little baby steps, but lots of baby steps add up, don't they?
Absolutely.
I think if it's seen as a massive journey, then it'll be intimidating. But it's one small doable step, isn't it? As in with most things, this has been a really interesting twist for me, because I've heard that art of any form can be healing and cathartic for the practitioner, as in the person doing it. But I've never heard it from the point of view of the recipient, of it being helpful and, to contributing to their mental health. Never thought of that before
yeah,
today.
Well, I guess it's, taking some time to sit and reflect upon yourself and think, I wonder what this artist is going to bring out from inside me. What does she see? Who am I? Why am I the way I am? What's been my journey? What's my life so far? Where am I going? You sort of reflect on those things. Just sitting there. It's kind of you can kind of liken it to sitting for a hairdresser, but it's a nice long session. But it's more than that, because I guess it's someone that when people come to me, they often haven't met me or they don't know me very well, and so it's meeting someone new. Makes you do that, right? You think, what do they think of me, and why is that, or what do I think of myself? What do I want to celebrate? How do I want to be portrayed?
Because I suppose when you're on the battlefield, that's the last thing that's on your mind. There's no time for the luxuries, if that's the right word, of contemplation and things like that. And I'm guessing also that these fantastic folks that you paint, I imagine their sense of self, quite possibly, has either been neglected because they've been on active service or shattered even. And you can bring out something which can help them look at themselves in a different way, in a positive way.
Yeah. And I think, so many of the people I painted never dreamed of being, we used that word worthy earlier, worthy of having their portrait painted and hung on the wall for generations, to see in the future and look up to. And actually I gave value to these people, and saw past the medal and those kind of boxes that get ticked. And
this is what Emily Kate was saying when she was raving about your work. She was saying it's about taking the mask off, and getting to the person underneath. like you say, if you don't have, you can have 1 medal or 1,000,000 medals, but if you've got PTSD, that doesn't discriminate. PTSD doesn't care how many medals you have. And what I've learned about PTSD, which doesn't just exist on the battlefield, by the way, there's so-called small T traumas, which everyone's got a little bit of, probably. And then what they call in the community capital T traumas, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't discriminate. And it's a horrible condition. It's a horrible condition. I have read about some really good treatments for it, like EMDR is one, which I'm sure you know, and something called havening as well. We talk about that quite a lot on this show.
Yeah, oh gosh, it's certainly worth seeking out those treatments. And
well, havening's a real breakthrough. Havening changes the brain waves and sort of recalibrates the brain on a physical level, which changes the way the traumatic memory was coded, so it no longer has the emotional sting. But the thing is, with havening, it's so fast; it can happen within an hour. I know that sounds unbelievable, but it's all been tested by professionals, and that's pretty inspiring to me as well. That, you know, no matter what the wounds are, there is a healing path available, one of many, without regurgitating it for years and years and years, as people might think traditional therapy will work. It's we're not in Toto. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Not in Toto anymore, Kansas. Not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Mixing with metaphor.
Yeah.
So
I think therapy can take you, you know, hopefully it can solve it, but sometimes it can only get you so far, you know, and then you need just to try something new. But it's certainly worth just looking out.
Something new and anything new, yeah. And anything new. So you've got a lot of work on at the moment. I bet you have.
Yeah, it's all, you know, it's good busy. It's good busy. Just try and keep, talking about therapy, try and keep my, you know, balance in my own life. And I absolutely love what I do. So it's kind of, you get addicted. And yeah, when I'm painting, it's quite therapeutic, painting my commissions. But I've just started to embark on a whole new project. In a way, it's kind of similar to the piece, the project I did with War Paint. And for now, I'm calling it Stories of Change.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah, so I'm a mother. I've got 2 young girls, and you know, I see the challenges that a lot of women face, parents face. You know, trying to be, you just need you need to be cloned. You know, we live in a world where it's so kind of isolated and solitary these days, and I'm very grateful where I am here in Surrey to have such a fantastic community, and I'm very, very grateful for that. But
we need that, don't we? We need that. It's the very technology that was meant to connect us has actually isolated us even more, because not because there's anything wrong with the technology, but it's just the way it's being used at the moment, I guess. But we need that. We don't. And anyone, I've said this so many times on the show when we talk about mental health, anyone with any kind of mental health condition at all, as by its very nature, it feels isolating, and it feels very like you're the only one, you're alone. Yeah, it could be further from the truth, but it feels that way.
Yeah, and we have to remember to connect with people actually physically, you know, in real life, instead of online. Can be fantastic, of course it can, but you know, it's that actual interaction with people which makes such a difference. And again, it doesn't have to be massive. It could just be a little hello in your local newsagents, you know. But being outside, being with people, certainly helps me. But yeah, so this next project is just celebrating women who are kind of campaigning, or they're adapting to that change, and kind of finding ways that we can make it better. So I want to shed light on them, celebrate them and what their work that they're doing. And
any particular subject, make it better in what subject, or just generally?
Gosh, there are so many. Well, you talk about social media. In fact, this morning I was looking at a group, and it's 2 women who have set it up, smartphone free childhood is what it's called. And, you know, they're creating communities of parents in schools, and creating that support for parents who don't want to give their child access to social media at a young age. And I think, you know, as a mother, it's a huge worry for me. My kids are only 6 and 3 at the moment, so
Yeah, I can well
they
understand
don't
that.
have smartphones, but you know, they see me on mine, and I'm very aware of how that might impact them. And yeah, so I would like to celebrate, you know, people who are doing work like that, you know, showing awareness, and to how we can try and change something by coming together. There's also someone else that I'm painting who had some issues in her world. She used to be a model, well, she is still a model, but she was a child model. And then when she, later on in her life, when she became pregnant, she lost her job. And she then realized that actually models were using pregnant bumps to look pregnant. But that didn't make any sense because she just lost her job because, you know,
That makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah.
So, you know, it's campaigning in that kind of work, the image, the world of image, and how that's impacting young people.
Well, it does. I mean, it does. There's no question about it. But like everything, there's a good and bad side to it. Social media, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, there's some awful toxic stuff on there, which I just avoid like the plague.
But you have to know that it's bad to avoid it, you know. And I think some young people, they don't know that because someone's telling them that this is okay, it's online, so it should.
Exactly, and that's the false assumption, isn't it? If it's online, it must be safe, or if it's online, it must be true. Yeah. And nothing could be further. It could be like the Wild West out there online at times. I know a lady who wrote a book called "How to Break Up with Your Smartphone."
Oh, great! Yeah,
which is a similar sort of idea. And my first reaction to that is screaming, "No, my whole life's on there." But then again, I was alive before smartphones came along, and I thrived perfectly well without one. So I'm not saying I particularly need one, but
yeah, I mean,
it's when you get those screen time reports. Your screen time went up this week. I'm like, oh my god, did I spend that much time on my phone?
Yeah, I think we have to remember why we had it. You know, why it all started, and it's great to communicate with people, but sometimes I think you can be communicating with too many people, you know, and we've lost the value in our really, you know, the quality of relationships, and we need to find out how.
Yes, I agree, because it's very kind of disposed, you know, swipe. That's hardly relationship, is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. What other kind of projects are you working on? Apart from the smartphones one, what other kind of change projects?
Well, that's the main one. I mean, I've also just come back from India, and I was on a retreat out there, taking some time for myself, but also then went and stayed in this bustling city. And I love changing a culture, you know, going to a completely different culture and immersing myself as much as I can in that. And so yeah, I'm due to have an exhibition of those paintings in won't be till 2026 now, because the Stories of Change one will be next year. So yeah, there's lots going on, and yeah, just lots of exhibitions to enter as well, and you know, and you know, obviously being a parent, and trying to enjoy all of that at the same time. It's full on. But it's
yes. The juggling act that we all face nowadays. There's a nice idea in the forces. I don't know if you've heard of this one, because I do a bit of stand-up comedy as well. And I met this chap one night down in Hampshire, and it's a drive from the army to help come to terms or heal PTSD through comedy. And he did his set, and he's got a therapy dog, and he brings the dog on stage. Of course, everyone goes, "Oh, isn't that lovely?" So they bond with him straight away. And when you hear his backstory, he's a lovely, lovely man. He's doing really well as well. But I thought that was just another nice idea for PTSD and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. I one of the charities I was supporting in War Paint was helping out a charity called Canine Partners, I think it was. Yeah, so they used dogs as, you know, to help with therapy. And you know, many people use horses as well. Dogs, horses, animals. They're wonderful, aren't they? They just know. They know when you're feeling, even before you do.
Yeah. So how long does it take from conception from commission to conception to creation? If you got a totally new project today. Talk
Yes,
us through
so I might get an email from
timeline.
someone who has come across my work in whatever way, and then I ask them if they've got a deadline, and if they do, then I'll try and fit them in as best I can. If not, then I tend to be booked up about a year in advance. But if it's with children, I can take the photograph before then, if they would like to capture them at that now. And then, so then the next step is coming into the studio to have the photograph done, or to do the sittings, which tend to be, could be like a day. I mean, it's so relaxed to come along, sit here in the studio, and maybe sit for an hour and a half, have a break, go for a walk, whatever, come back and do another hour and a half. But it's just like sitting and having a cup of tea. It's, most people can sit vaguely still while they're talking to someone.
I've got to ask, is it difficult to get people to keep still? Because I'm bad enough when I have my hair cut. The barbers always go, no, don't look at your phone. Is it difficult to get people to keep still? Do you have to keep correcting them?
Yeah, sometimes it can be. And maybe then I'd suggest that we don't talk, sadly. I love chatting, but yeah, maybe if we don't talk, it's easier for someone to sit still and they can listen to something or watch something, whatever, but time tends to go very quickly.
Do hours, you said, do hours tend to fly by when you're in your creative zone?
Gosh, completely,
in your, because we talk about, there's an awful lot on this show, flow states, the state of flow, which I would bet £1 million you've been in probably several hundred times, and it feels fantastic, doesn't it? It's just the most amazing thing, but it distorts time, doesn't it? And it's like, suddenly, wait a minute, it's dark outside, how did that happen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that tends to be when I know the day is done. I'm
really hungry, where did that come from? Because they haven't eaten all day, they've been so busy in the flow. It's an ecstatic state to be in, though. It's wonderful and very healing as well, I would say.
As long as it's going well. I mean, sometimes I can. I mean, Emily Kate will tell you, I'm painting a lot of hands at the moment in her painting. I sort of, painting a thumb, and I think, oh God, please tell me this is going to be done soon. But other times, you could get completely lost for hours, and I think that happens for both sitter and me when painting a commission, and they really, really enjoy it. And it's such an experience. It's part of it. I mean, the painting itself is, why they come to me, but actually sitting in the studio and going through that experience is such, you remember forever.
Experience of it, isn't it? What's it like on the big reveal when you show them the masterpiece for the first time? You must have had some fantastic reactions.
Oh gosh, yes, I can think of a few. But well, I tend to communicate with my clients, very frequently while I'm working on their work, so that they have a chance to, comment on something, that if they feel something's not quite right, or then I definitely listen and see if I can adjust it. I love to have that kind of feedback. But yes, sometimes if a person hasn't seen the final result, I mean, you might, for a bit of a laugh, I was on Made in Chelsea years ago, and you can have a look. Gosh, what was it? Episode 7. Well, I started in the first episode, the first ever episode of Made in Chelsea I'm on. So if you want,
is that right?
Yeah, and then I think it was revealed in the 7th one. So that was an interesting. I mean, they edit it, of course, but I was painting Francis Ball, and he was quite amazed. He was like, "Oh my goodness, it's so lifelike," and I was like, "Yes, that's great. It's exactly what it should be." Of course,
that's the right answer. Yes.
That was too nice. So, but people are. I mean, tears mostly. Tears, a lot of tears. Because
isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
Because maybe no one's ever really focused intently on that person for that amount of time, because we're such a fast-paced society. That's high-quality attention, isn't it? Yeah. When I really think about it,
if it's of yourself, people think that having a portrait's quite a vain thing to do, and Actually,
No. Well, yeah, some people are going to be vain, but you'll always get a small percentage of that, I would have thought. But the work you're doing, vanity is certainly not the word that sprung to mind.
No, I think, it's combined with that appreciation for art, really, and just that fascination into how.
Philosophical question: if you could have dinner with any artist in history, living or dead, who would be your top three?
Oh, top three. Gosh.
It's like asking your favorite music record. I know it's a difficult question, but
yeah, absolutely. Well, one of which is called John Singer Sargent. In fact, he's got a show on at the moment at Tate Britain.
Mm-hmm.
He was around. I think he died in 1924. So he was a society sort of painter at the time, but he would paint 13 full-length, life-size paintings a year. So that's at least one a month, and I mean it takes me a couple of months at least to paint one of those, and that wasn't all he was doing. So that he was so fast, and so I'd be really interested to meet him and understand just like the logistics of how he did that, and where he painted these people, and just that kind of thing. I'm getting interested in a lot of artists who are living today, actually. One of which is Caroline
Walker. Well, it's a better chance of meeting them for dinner.
yeah, I know. Might as well, just in case. Yeah, Caroline Walker. I mean, I've seen her chatting at the Barbican Centre, and she's painting a lot of kind of everyday life. And I'm fascinated at how she paints. She manages to kind of capture a scene, even though it doesn't have much of a contrast with light. So I'm really fascinated by how she does that. Tracy Emin as well. I mean, I think
yes,
kind of I found her work a bit grotesque, but now I understand it more, and the thought process behind it. I find that really captivating.
What about our kind of guerrilla artist friends like Banksy, people like that?
Oh, I know. Yeah, seen the news. No, I don't really find that as interesting, to be honest. I think it's made
not your bad,
no. I guess someone from way back when, like Michelangelo or someone like that, just to understand that the time, what it was. Artists were so much more celebrated then than they are today.
Yes. Now I wonder why that was. Why were they so venerated in history?
Well, I guess it was a display of wealth, wasn't it? And I mean, it is still now, but we're living in such a material kind of society that it's so much easier for anyone to acquire some art. But back then it was, you didn't have photography and printing, and so you had to commission an artist if you wanted some art. And you think about someone like Michelangelo, working for royalty throughout, the whole of Europe.
I mean, commissioning him back then would be probably today's equivalent of commissioning a Hollywood A-lister to be in your movie, wouldn't it? I mean, it's kind of pretty much, isn't it?
Yeah, or I guess, or during your child's 16th birthday, like, playing if they were in a band or something, playing at your child's 16th birthday, and just spending that amount of money and showing off, really. I find that quite fascinating.
Interesting stuff. I was going to put your website back up if anyone would like to visit. carolinedepelicarve.co.uk. I'm mindful of your time, so thank you ever so much for being on.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been really interesting.
Have you done anything like this before? Sort of glorified Zoom calls, stroke radio shows? You must have. Probably loads.
But for me, it really helps summarize my work, my thought process. So I hope it's.
I do recommend to anyone listening or watching this back to go and check out Caroline's website, because it really is. I've used the phrase already this morning. It captures an essence. It captures a feel. And it's that old adage, isn't it? A picture's worth 1,000 words. And I could use 10,000 words, but you just say it so much more with the way that you do it. Fantastic work, Caroline. And keep up the good work. And thank you, Emily Kate Owen, for the introduction. Really lovely to talk to you.
Awesome. You too.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What do you think of that then, folks? Well, we got some pretty good numbers today, so I'm guessing you like that. Isn't it fantastic? Because she was talking about how did that man, I've totally forgot his name, but back in the 1920s, I think it was, paint so fast, and it comes back to this book that we've been talking about, Paul McKenna, and there's a chapter in here on creativity, because creativity has always fascinated me. Creativity of any form, something didn't exist, and then it does, and I suppose everything that we see around us has been created by us. I mean, who else did it, if you know what I mean? But what Paul McKenna says in this book, this is the book, by the way, Successful Life, Paul McKenna, he gets all the credit for this. I have no credit for this at all. I'm just reviewing it. You're either creative and you know it, or you're a creative person who hasn't realized it yet. So we all have access, if you like, to creativity. A lot of people think it might be just about art. That's where most people's minds would go. And yes, for sure, it's about art, as our wonderful guest has amply demonstrated, but it's everything. It can be in any area of life. You can be a very creative parent. You can be a very creative cook. You can be a creative lover, apparently. So there's lots of creativity, has many forms. We seem a bit short on comments today. You're not normally as chatty as you normally are. With Errol, you're my second comment. Hello from across the pond. How you doing today, Errol? Any thoughts on creativity? Anyone? Because I can go a little bit more into this book if you like. We can have a little chat about it. The human mind, I quote Paul McKenna, is an awe-inspiring, inventive tool. Just think about all the magnificent art and science and technology and concepts that people have dreamed up using their creative mind. Successful people don't just create ideas or innovations. They also make a blueprint in their mind and then consider how to get it. They design their life. Now, that's very different. That's because in NLP, one of the very first things that you learn is being at cause of your experience rather than at effect of it. And if you're not actively designing your life, then presumably somebody else is, or you're just kind of getting carried along. And yeah, sometimes it is good to surrender and go with the flow. We've discussed flow states, but sometimes you need to be a little bit more active. But the creativity would add an interesting component to that, wouldn't it? Here's an interesting one. Paul McCartney was interviewed, according to this book, who'd just written a ballet score called Ocean's Kingdom. Now, we wouldn't think of Paul McCartney writing ballet. Now, I think it's fair to say he's already a creative genius. I don't think anyone would challenge me on that. It was a new undertaking. One of his strategies was to imagine sitting in the theatre watching the show and enjoying the finished performance in order to give him inspiration. He says, with most things I do, I imagine myself in the audience. So what would I like to see? Which is what Richard Branson did when he took a flight, which he didn't particularly like. He thought, God, this is a bit naff. I wouldn't mind some food and a TV screen in the back of the seats, and maybe even an in-flight massage and Virgin Air was born. Here's a really interesting one. Steve Wynn, probably not a name you've heard of, according to Paul McKenna in this book. He dropped out of a prestigious Yale law school and went on to create Mirage, Treasure Island, and Bellagio, and Wynn Las Vegas, using his creative super state, or mind if you like, to dream about 50-foot volcanoes exploding in hotel lobbies and giant fountains that danced to classical music, and he made them a reality within the field of business. Now, he creates a casino inside his mind before he designs it in the real world. Here's the fascinating thing, though. He has an eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa, and he's registered as legally blind. So he may have impaired vision, but he sees an awful lot, if you know what I mean. And then Paul McKenna goes on to write about how he accesses his creativity, because, I mean, McKenna has doing incredible work in the personal growth and personal development field. It's incredible. He used to be a DJ working on the same radio station that I do now. So it just shows that unlimited potential, I suppose, is available to all of us. We've all got the potential for that. Whether we access it or not would depend, number one, do we know we can? And do we know we've got it? Do we think it's okay to access? And it brings up a lot of fear in people sometimes, oh my God, what, me being totally 100%? And it's done my head in a couple of times, but until I suppose you fully own yourself, you can't fully own yourself in the way you want to in the world. So Errol Rappaport says it's all about creativity and hard work. Yes, I would agree, with one caveat, Errol, and please let me know your thoughts on this as well. I would say working smart, not hard, because there's an awful lot of burnout nowadays. So if working hard was the key to success, then everyone that worked hard would automatically be super successful. But the equation doesn't seem to work that way, does it? And there's many people, I'm sure we all know a few, that work their nose against the grindstone and then burn out. So there's another component to it. And I think reading books like this, really recommend this. This would be if I was recommending a book, this would be my read of the moment. Paul McKenna, Success for Life, The Secret to Achieving Your True Potential. But it's exciting that we can now measure these things. We can see what's going on in people's brains. There's a whole wonderful new field of neuroscience. There's chapters in here on, let's have a look at the chapters. Self-belief, clarity, determination, connection. That's what Caroline was talking about, of course, with her community and connection. It's all about well-being, isn't it? And particularly on the Wednesday show, we talk an awful lot about mental health and well-being and all those kinds of subjects. Creativity, energy, and health, and happiness as well. And if you just imagine this: if you had all these things and you knew you had them and you were using them every day, self-belief, clarity, determination, connection, creativity, energy, and health, happiness. Just imagine that. Now extrapolate that. Imagine everyone had that. Imagine everyone was accessing that. Think that might change the world around us a little bit? Just saying. So, investing, I don't mean financially necessarily, but investing in yourself and starting with yourself is a good thing to do. It's not about lazy navel gazing. It's not about opting out. Far from it. You'll probably be more active and involved in ways that interest you than you ever were before. And really enjoying the challenges of life. That is an interesting one. Yeah, I like this. A wise man, Errol. My dad used to say, work is work only when it's work. Yeah, isn't there that quote that if you find a job you love, you'll never work another day in your life? I also heard a good new word. It might annoy you a bit because it's a coined word, but it kind of conveys the concept. Let me just add that. Plurk, which is half play, half work. And again, this can be backed up with science, because people that adopt a playful attitude and a light-hearted attitude to things are more productive, or also people who make pleasure a priority in their lives, not just sex, but including that, are more productive than people that don't. And there's an awful lot of studies out to show that. So things that we might have been told are a bit decadent or a bit narcissistic or a bit self-absorbed, and yeah, people can use them for those reasons and do, but the things in and of themselves are actually really healthy and need, in my opinion, to be nurtured. Definitely. Any comments? You're not very chatty today. Where's Graham heckling me? I'm missing him with his rude comments. Be really interested to hear from you. Any comments? What do you think, Errol, on that, on the idea of plurking, half play, half work? Because you watch kids play, right? And they're always in the moment. Something happens, they fall over, they cry, it's forgotten. And then they're back in the moment with the next adventure, being the next character, being the next superhero or whatever. But they're constantly creating and they're constantly in the moment. Now, what do you think? Anyone think the educational process kind of beats that out of us a bit? Because what we are in this society is very left brain dominant. Okay. And I'm not saying you should get rid of your left brain if you're a human being and try and overcome it, any more than if you're a spiritual person, you should try and get rid of your ego. I don't think that's a good idea. But I do think there's more available to us than what the left brain can offer. And it's got its place, and I wouldn't be without it. In fact, you couldn't be without it. You couldn't have an experience here on planet Earth without it. It would be impossible. However, it's been kind of... Didn't Einstein say that the rational mind, that's what he's talking about, the left brain, is a great servant but a terrible master, but we've raised it to status of master. in the world. And that's not a terribly healthy place to be, is it? When you think about it, if there's more available to us. I was on a fantastic call last night where they was almost demonstrating left brain, right brain, left brain, right brain. And it was apps and using techniques to do that. And it was fascinating to watch and kind of follow along, and then to see people have breakthroughs. And you see this relief, it's the only word I can think of, wash over people. And they honestly look 10 years younger immediately, just by asking a few well-timed probing questions. Really is quite extraordinary stuff. And I keep trying to get him on the show. There's time differences, though. He's a Canadian chap, but maybe I'll get something pre-recorded and get that on the show as well. Right. More comments. This is what we want. Errol says, I like it. I'm always having fun. Yeah, well, some say fun is number one. There you go. You beat me to it. If it's not fun, why do it? And I would imagine most people would answer, well, because I haven't got time. I haven't got time to have fun and do this frivolous thing. But that's the mistake, isn't it? That's the mistake. If there's no fun in life, why would you be doing it? Because you have to. Well, this is what I mean by work smarter, not harder. Are there other ways of achieving what you have to do? So there's more time for fun and fun activities and things that you like to do. Because if you're doing what you like to do, then it doesn't seem like work, and then you get a lot more done. As I said, pleasure is productive. Errol says, make time. Yeah, absolutely. And then people will go, I can't, and they give you the list of all the things. But I think anyone could spare 5 minutes a day to do some deep breathing or something like that, or some kind of meditative exercise, or even go out in nature if that's not your bag. I talk about meditation quite a lot. There's a load of scientific studies behind it showing it's good, but I'm not some kind of hippie guru. I like the scientific perspective, but it has been proven over and over and over to do a lot of good stuff, and it's very ordinary as well. Its effects are very kind of natural, very ordinary. It's not going to be angels, bells, and whistles, I doubt. It's subtle. It's a lot more subtle than that, but it's very healthful. Facebook user, I like to be used up. Who's that? Reveal yourself. Who are you? Yeah, didn't George Bernard Shaw say something like that? I want to feel that my life's been well lived and I've been fully used rather than a clod of ailments or something. Didn't George Bernard Shaw say? Who is that? We'll give you a shout out on the show. I like to be used up. Someone's quote, I want to be used up when I die. I think that was George Bernard. Hello, Elizabeth. How you doing? I think that was George Bernard Shaw. I'm fairly sure that's a George Bernard Shaw quote. In fact, if you give me a minute, I'll Google it. You've been there for you, old George. Let's have a quick look for you. Yeah. Here we go. George Bernard Shaw quotes. Just double clicking here. Oh, God. And it's gone. It's completely the wrong page. Would you look at that? No, this is good. I actually want to do this. George Bernard Shaw quotes. He did say that. He definitely said that. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. For the harder I work, the more I live. Oh, would you look at that? Excuse me, just plugging the computer in. Yeah, pleasure is productive. Liberty means responsibility. There's no sincerer love than the love of food. Beware of false knowledge. It's more dangerous than ignorance. I learned never to wrestle with a pig, and the rest of that isn't there. But I think that's along the lines, you get dirty, it doesn't do any good, and the pig likes it. I'll just double check that one. This is a good one from George Bernard Shaw. Yeah, you get dirty, plus the pig likes it. Some men see things as they are and say, why? I dream of things that never were and say, why not? Go on, George. Oh, I like this. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it's taken place. Yeah, I think he hit the nail on the head with that one, Georgie boy. Progress is impossible without change, and those that cannot change their minds cannot change anything. Now we were talking about playing. Here, you'll like this one, Errol. We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. Do you like that? I thought you'd like that. Let's come back onto the screen where I can see myself. Hello, Elizabeth. Yeah. I'm assuming this is Elizabeth too. We have far greater capacity than we think we do. And this is the point. We've bought into an awful lot of stuff that people have said, beliefs that we grew up with, conditioning that we grew up with, environment we grew up with. Yes, that is true. And it does affect people a lot. However, it's equally true that there's an awful lot of potential. And I think we're living in a time, I thought you'd like that, Errol, when certainly conversations like this, I don't think we could have had a conversation like this really a few years ago. Well, there was no StreamYard, so we couldn't. But technology aside, just the stuff we're talking about, we're certainly moving into a time where conversations are getting an awful lot more interesting. Seemingly disparate things like science and spirituality aren't that different after all, particularly if you study any quantum physics. They're really not separate. If anything is separate, maybe it's all about this connection that we seek at the moment. What's your thoughts, Errol, Elizabeth? What's the thing? What's something that you would like to do? A part of yourself that you would like to develop more? Because if we get a lot of requests for it, I can bring someone on who has done that. I'm just getting started. Like, I just discovered you and Russ Kane. Oh, mate, we've been around for 20 years. better late than never, Errol. But it's very good to, mind you, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have been having conversations like this. I'd have been introducing Take That records on the radio, which I still do from time to time. Elizabeth makes me think of that Nelson Mandela speech. Yes, of course. Oh, yes, our greatest fear is our brilliance. Was that Nelson Mandela? I think that was also attributed to Marianne Williamson, who is a spiritual writer. She studied the modern day spiritual text, A Course in Miracles, which was written in the 70s. It's quite complicated, but she's a student of that, and she said our greatest fear is our brilliance. Yeah, why would we be scared of our own light? It's like that scene at the beginning of Watership Down, the cartoon, isn't it, where the sun is the god, if you like, and the rabbit's like, no, you're not going to bless me. You have to bless my bottom. And so he sticks his head in the sand like an ostrich, leaving his bum sticking up, and the sun blesses him and gives him a white tail. And that, friends, is why rabbits have white tails to this day, according to that film anyway. He spoke it. Yes, she wrote it. No, he probably said it, and she might have, because she came after him. Anyway, not that it matters. It's the quote that's important. But why would we be bothered by that? Why would we be scared? And this is myself included as well. It's been an interesting show today. Come on, a bit more chatty on the timeline though, please. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me ask that question again. Is there an aspect of yourself that you think is underdeveloped, that you'd like more of this version of you, if you want to use that word, to be in the world? What would that be? What would you like to develop more of? Come on, could be fun. An artist like our wonderful lady earlier. Want to be the world's greatest lover? Get some tantra experts on the show. What's been neglected since life got in the way? That's a good way of putting it. What's been neglected since life got in the way, and what would you like to come back to and do more of, if you could? What would it be? Let me know. That one, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. That's an old one, an oldie but a goodie. That was a book by Susan Jeffers, if you remember. Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Yeah, she wrote a whole series of them. Inspirational women. Are you saying you want more inspirational women on the show, Elizabeth? Is that what you're saying? Because I do know some wonderful inspirational women. And I could probably get them on the show if you like. It all depends on the mood I'm in. Okay, right now, with the mood you're in now, Errol, what do you want? If we could discuss something now. So more inspirational women on the show. There's women that are inspirational for many reasons. Can we niche it down a little bit, Elizabeth? Inspirational in what? In an artistic kind of way, like Caroline earlier, or Michelle Obama kind of way, or What kind of way? Woo woo is fine. Bring it on. I'm not being particularly woo woo. Inspirational writers. Okay, let's niche that down a little bit further. Anyone in particular? Who butters your parsnips? All right, let me phrase it like this, Elizabeth. If I could get anyone on this show, your favourite inspirational writer, who would it be? Yes. Why did you miss it earlier? How dare you? We're doing it now. It's all good. Good stuff. Yeah. I missed earlier. Sorry, says Elizabeth. Writers. Any particular one that you're a big fan of? Not that I can promise to get Michelle Obama, but I'd love to. It's been a fun show today. It's been a good show. It always is. The numbers are great, by the way. It seems that you're liking the new rebrands. This is now the midday show. It's just for you. The user experience is just the same. You still get your favourites. You get Russ Kane on Monday and me, just me on the Wednesday because Russ is off doing his writing, and he is an incredible writer, by the way. And I'd probably say that behind his back while kind of saying it in public. So if it gets back to him, good. But he is absolutely an incredible writer. Very, very gifted and stand-up comedian and many other things. Sickeningly talented. I heard her talk live, but her interviewer was very dry. Yeah, I can imagine that. I just think she's wonderful. I think she's an absolutely. I thought they both were. Even if I didn't agree with Barack Obama's policies, I thought he was a great statesman, and I thought it was real hope for America. And then him. And he's trying to get back in as well. Oh God. The only good thing that'd be if Trump gets back in is comedians around the world will go, thank you. Another vein of gold of material. Michelle Obama. All right. So you want me to try and get a bit of Michelle on the show, do you? I'll see what I can do. I can't promise, but I think her and her husband are incredibly inspirational people. And of course, being the first black president of the USA as well, that was very, very big for the USA. And long overdue and needed. Comments coming in thick and fast now. No, I meant I heard her live, but yes, okay, yeah. I mean, she must have done a zillion interviews. Have you read her book, Elizabeth? Can't remember the name of it. Is it something like Becoming? Is it Becoming Michelle Obama? Because that's really interesting because she was just Michelle, and then she became the worldwide figure that we know, Michelle Obama. You know, she was kind of. Who was she? Who was Michelle Obama before she was Michelle Obama? If that makes any sense, but I think you know what I mean. Obama was in London. He met the Prime Minister. Yeah, yeah, he would be, wouldn't he? Yes, Becoming Michelle Obama, Netflix documentary. Yes. Yes. It is on Netflix. I haven't watched that, I must admit. Oh, quick recommendation. I don't want to steal Chantal's thunder for Friday, but on Netflix, The Gentleman. If you like Guy Ritchie stuff and the kind of cut of Guy Ritchie's jib, you'll love this. It's a series and it's really, really good. If you like that kind of thing. A little bit violent, but in a kind of Guy Ritchie sort of way. And for me, I don't particularly like violent films. Don't particularly hate them, but don't particularly like them. But when it's done in a certain way, it's kind of more entertaining than shocking, if that makes any sense. Or maybe I'm just weird that way. But thoroughly recommend it. It's about 8 episodes on Netflix. I'm about 3 in. I always put it on and then fall asleep. And it's on episode 6 and I have to go back and start the binge watch all over again. So we've just got 1 minute left of today's show. Can I just say thank you to my brilliant inspirational guest earlier on, Caroline Pericave. That's her website. Do go and look at her work, carolinepericave.co.uk. And thank you so much to my dear friend and colleague, Emily Kate Owen, for the introduction. Emily says she'll come back and Emily Kate says she'll come back and present on this show at some point soon. And we would welcome her back with open arms. In the meantime, I shall see you on my travels. I've got a comedy gig in Havant on the South Coast this Sunday. I'll be doing my other radio bits. You probably know where to find me. NeilLong.com if you want to check me out. Anything I can do for you. Or if you just want to say hi, hit me up on the socials. Friday, you've got Russ and Phil and the lovely Chantal Screen Queen, and I think theatre critic Jonathan Baz as well. I'll see you on Monday with Russ, and I'll see you next Wednesday where we'll have another good old session. Thanks again, Caroline Perrycalf. Check out her website and have a brilliant rest of your day. One final comment. Thumbs up. Thank you very much indeed. I'll leave you on that. Love you, hug you, squeeze you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.